So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Annabelle Monzo Painter. I'm your host for this special edition of the Universal Weather and Aviation Ops webinar series. I'll be your host for today's user update that's focused exclusively on really highlights and some things that are new and we'd like to make sure you know about as you go into the spring busy season in Feasibility IQ. Since we have now a whole lot of you already in the door, we're going to go ahead and set the stage for today. For those of you who were able to join us last week for the regular Ops Update webinar that kicked off our season, well, we're gearing up for as you know, because of that, we're already gearing up for that busy business aviation season that's just over the horizon. With most of January now under our belts, that means we're rolling straight into the heavy concentration of business trips that are hallmark of the new calendar year as corporations focus on critical Q1 objectives. But don't worry, the surge in Caribbean and Latin America focused leisure travel for spring break is also close behind, never far behind. This reminds me, some of you did chime in the questions for this registration for today that you had not seen the video for last week and you needed that link. Timothy, would you mind dropping the link for the blog page for the ops update from last week, that from January 22nd, in case anyone needs to reference it? Thanks for that. So the reality is we all know those spring leisure trips will quickly give way to that summer and then even Mediterranean peak season planning pretty quickly. So the bad news is, in fact, I think I just said that we're basically already looking at the middle of 2025 pretty darn soon. But before we get too far ahead of things, let's recenter today and check in to make sure you get set up for success with Feasibility IQ, no matter what the trip planning season is, as well as what your stakeholder needs are. So with that in mind, we're going to welcome back Monica Campos from the Feasibility IQ product team, back for that new year, fresh look user update, just a few quick things to hopefully make your workflow better. The idea here is to get you the info you need swiftly, whether you're a veteran user or brand new. With that in mind, we're going to get started with Monica. I'm going to bring her on Spotlight. Hello, Monica. So nice to have you back. For those of you who have not been introduced to Monica, she's a senior member of our Feasibility IQ product development team, firsthand subject matter expert that's been involved in the development of Feasibility IQ from inception, as well as she has a significant trip support operational background. Welcome back. Good to have you. And let's get started. I understand the new year has brought with it, Monica, a few key enhancements, especially around popular permits functionality in Feasibility IQ. Can you share some of the specifics as well as highlight some other items?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Annabelle. Welcome, everybody. It is really great to have you with this new year. Let me go ahead and share my screen. We have a lot to go over. There we are. Okay, I hope everybody can see my screen. So going into Feasibility IQ, of course, you come into UV-Go and it'll bring you into the missions page first. Feasibility has been broken out into airports and permits. Today, we're going to begin looking at permits. I'm really excited to share with you the changes that we've made, particularly affecting our charter and broker partners. If you have your own aircraft and you have your registries that you're already put into our system and you have it registered into our, we have your spec form, and we have everything to go for that registry, of course, that is the best way to go. If you are looking to expand your fleet, maybe you have an aircraft that you're looking at using and you want to see what kind of permit profile it would require, or if you are a charter broker and you have a lot of aircraft available to you, but not necessarily as part of your fleet, you can use this button right here and work via the generic aircraft functionality. With the generic aircraft, you can select a generic aircraft type. If you use maybe the same type of aircraft over and over, that will be listed up to 10 most recent aircraft that you selected. If you're looking to expand or you have a new one that you haven't quite looked at yet, you can use the generic aircraft finder, where you can then scroll through all of the makes, pick the one that you would like, and it'll load all of the aircraft type that we have there. We already had a G650 on there. Let's go down and see. Let's go with the 550. And then next to that is the registration nationality. Now, if you don't select a nationality, I'm going to go with an American aircraft. But if you don't have a known nationality, or you have a number of different nationalities that you are considering, you can click unknown. It will still give you the information that you're looking for. Any permit that is nationality based will come up as may be required, indicating that we don't know the nationality of your aircraft, so you might need this permit for that reason. But if you actually indicate the type of aircraft nationality that your aircraft that you're looking at are, it will give you straight through exactly what you're looking for. You can pick your Mach speed, your FAR type. Let's go private non-revenue. We're going to do a business flight. And let's say that you are based out of Florida, out of Miami, and the boss came and said, you know what? I need to go to a business trip in Sao Paulo. And you already know that he likes to go to Guarulhos. So we're going to look at what the route is going to look like from Miami down to Guarulhos. And he needs to go middle of next week. On Wednesday, we're going to do a noon departure. What this is now doing in the background, it's looking at the optimized route for that city pair. It's looking at the Great Circle route for that city pair, and it's looking at any routes that Universal might have in its system. The optimized route, or I'm sorry, the Great Circle has already populated. The optimized is usually second. And then the Universal routes, if we have any, it'll populate them as the system finds them. If you have a route that you have found or that you have created in your flight engine tool, your flight planning engine, then you can customize that route and copy it over there, paste it right here in this spot. I don't have one created, but really, so if I wanted to do KMIA, direct, Tonum, direct SBGR. Now, if you had it over there, you can copy it over there, paste it over here. It'll take any format and it'll add that as a custom route to the other routes that you have selected here. So it'll populate right at the top of the screen, right above optimized, and it'll take up to 5 custom routes. Why do we want to take up to 5 custom routes? Because then in the map view, you'll be able to see that route charted out, and you can compare it to the other routes that we have available. My screen is not the biggest, but I wanted to make sure that I had it right in front of me. So you can look at all of the plottings. If you're maybe contemplating a universal route, you can see if that route that was created has a weird dog leg, or if there's something that is just something that you don't want to use, at least you can see what you are utilizing for that route. Once we click on generate report, what it's doing is it's running a trip in the background. And that's why it was important that we have the specs for your aircraft in our system so it can run a flight plan, so that it can know where you are, not only laterally, but also altitude-wise. So that will take care of Senamare, overflights over from Dubai going across the Bahrain airspace, but not over the Qatar airspace. How high are you? The Anguilla airspace, St. Kitts and Nevis, where altitude is really important, the system will detect that and be able to tell you exactly where you are. And not only that, I'm sure you remember the days when you had to choose the route, run the flight plan, plot the flight plan, and then go looking at all of your different sources to see what the requirements are for each individual location. This has taken that all together. It has told me what FIRs I overfly, what countries, what land masses I overfly, entry points, exit points, time to those entry points and exit points, whether or not the permit is required. If I do require a permit, what's the lead time for that permit? If I am within 3 days of the lead time, then it's going to show as red because I don't really have time to be dilly-dallying. I need to get all of my documents together and get this permit requested to even have a shot at making it in the time that they require. If I have between 7 and 3 days, then it will show orange, as many of these are, because it's in the middle of next week. It'll show orange because I have a little bit of time to get my stuff together and get everything submitted to the team so that they can get that permit requested. If it's outside of 7 days, then it's green because I have a good amount of time to get everything together, to talk with the passenger, make sure that they have what they need. But this gives you instant knowledge of if it's red, we're within our lead time. If we're going to make this happen, we have to go now. Or if you see that it says 48 hours and we've got 24 hours to go, you can set those expectations. You can know on the front end, is this possible? Is it going to be something that's going to be miraculous to pull off? And then finally, we have the permit types, if it's a landing permit or an overflight permit. At the very top, you'll notice a departure permit. That's kind of a new thing because this tool looks at it leg by leg. So if you needed a departure permit when you're departing a location, you might want to look at the previous leg to make sure that you didn't need a permit for arrival. And the only reason that I bring that up is for things that change depending on your next leg. So those countries that don't require permits for an international arrival, but they do require permits for domestic legs, or you entered private, but you're departing charter. All of those things that change so that you know that you have the correct information for the operation that you're trying to make happen. And the final thing that we include is if you click on the country, it'll tell you what type of permit we're looking at, what documents are required for that permit, the lead time, our average processing time. This is Universal's experience. How long does it usually take to process this permit? Usually, how long before a trip do we get that permit? And it'll also include any geopolitical restrictions that exist, and if there are any countries that you cannot come from or go to or overfly, it'll list those at the very bottom. So those are all of the different things that we've included into FIQ permit. And also on the output side, we include a list of what the required countries are together with that, the plotting of that routing. So you can see the countries that you're overflying and kind of reconcile that in your mind if they need a permit or not, where you're entering, where you're exiting. You can see the waypoints and all of those things. So
Got
those are
it.
our additions to FIQ permits for the generic aircraft.
Awesome. All right, good highlights there, Monica. Can you also continue now on some of the functional changes Feasibility IQ now has under the airport section, as well as quick refresher on the other key sections that break down access into trip planning info?
Absolutely. So I'm going to try to make this a good mix of those of you who are used to FIQ, Feasibility IQ in the airports, and any newcomers that might be with us so you can walk away with a good nugget. As Annabelle was saying earlier, we're coming up on spring break, that time when everybody's trying to flood, not the Med, but the Caribbean. Everybody's going to St. Martin, to Aruba, and it just becomes a yacht's paradise. So again, let's say that our principal wanted to go down to Brazil, so we can load SBGR there. And then from there, he says, you know what, I'm going to go pick up the yacht in St. Martin. So you want to look up what the situation is at St. Martin in the time frame that's coming up. And then from St. Martin, let's say that he says, we're going to tour for a little while, we'll yacht around, go pick us up in Providenciales. So then you want to throw that in there. Now, this search up here, you can also do things by city. It'll show you different airports. We have filters for runway length and for whether it's an airport of entry or not. And then on the way back, they're going to go to the Super Bowl. So here we see at a glance, do you need permits? Do you need slots? Is it an airport of entry? Is APIS required? For the American airport, do you have RSP available to you at that location? And you'll notice a major event flag. Anytime there's a major event going on at that location, we're going to create a flag so that you're aware of it. And when you go into the system, in a few seconds, I have everything I could conceivably want to know about these locations. And on every page, it will have reference to that special event. And the reason that we do that, we put together a blog to curate all of the information that you might need for that event. We don't want to change the actual information in Feasibility IQ. You may not be going for that event. You might be going before, you might be going after. So we want to make sure that you have the information that you need for that airport, as well as anything additional that you might need to know to make sure that your operation to that event will be successful. So what do we have in FIQ airports? One of the biggest things that we have, one of the things that we've changed is the ability to collapse this header so you have more space underneath. Let's go back to SBGR so we can get rid of that banner as well. What the hours for the airport are, any aircraft specific criteria, if there is anything going on, any comments that are included. We included the customs information separate from the airport hours because the customs hours don't always match the airport hours. And a really popular point here is this crew and passenger logistics that has to do with the airport. Particularly, how far before flight should your crew members and your passengers arrive at the airport so that they can make their flight no problem. Really, really helpful information. So you don't pull the boss off the beach too soon or have them running down the airport trying to catch the plane to make those slots. Not that they run, but we want to make sure that everything happens on time and nobody's rushed and you look like a superstar because you knew all this going in and you were able to set good expectations and give good information. We offer airport level permissions. This is one of the new additions that we've added is the average processing time. So of course you have when you need it, anything pertaining to that permission that you might need, but also how long has Universal experienced it taking the time to actually process that permission. So for PPRs, we have the average processing time. We've also been able to break it out from standard and high traffic information. And I'll go a little bit into how we determine that high, or where we determine that high traffic status. It's actually from market information. So it's all traffic into those locations, not just any specific provider. So we see between the standard traffic, it takes 13 business days. And when it's busier, it takes 18. Again, the ability to set expectations, knowing what the circumstances are, what the situation is, being able to tell the principal what is happening, how long things are going to take. If they take a little bit longer than you've expected, you have that frame of reference to how long it usually takes us and what we've experienced in all of our throughput. And one last thing that we have available in the slot side of the house is how often do they need to be amended? So we see that in St. Martin, they need to be amended about 30% of the time. So if they come back and you have to ask the principal again, let's say you had a very high percentage of amendments that had to be made, and you went back to the principal and said, sir, it's not going to work on that day. We need to either change the time, get there later, get there earlier. And you have to go back a couple of times. You start to be able to explain to them, look, this is just the way it is at this airport. There's nothing out of the ordinary happening here. Setting expectations, having the circumstances set in your mind, being able to speak to that will really make you stand out. And that's really the name of the game, right? So we have the parking information for all of those airports, whether or not it is a busy airport and how they manage those shortages, any repositioning airports that you might want to go to, how long it takes to drive there, being an island, St. Martin, I'm gonna drive too many places. If there's anything coming up, it also can give you parking advisories, flight planning information, in particular PCN. We do our best to gather and bring together all of those PCN numbers so they're right here at your fingertips. Any events that might be going on, again, where'd it go? The Super Bowl, it just took it a while to load. The Super Bowl information, when it starts, when you should start planning, what it affects, and from here as well, the access to the blog. Location trends. This is what I was saying before is really popular information. Let me get away from that banner again. Here we can see on a bigger screen all of the aircraft that have operated to this location. Going back to that scenario where maybe you have a new aircraft that you're adding to your fleet, or you're a charter broker and you don't necessarily have a ton of experience with this particular aircraft, or it's bigger than any craft that you've dealt with before, can that location support that aircraft? Well, here you can see if that particular type has operated there before, or at least a comparable type has operated before, how many of them. You can change your date range. This will just tell you everything that you need to know. It's like a giant report right there on your screen. The peak months and travel season, so you can see when the busiest time of year is. Maybe it's just as busy all the time. We even go to peak times of the day and the week. This is taking that range and averaging every Sunday, every Monday, every Tuesday, all the arrivals for that day, all of the departures for that day. If you happen to be going on Friday, you can break out what are the busiest times of the day. Now, there's not even 12 a day here. So some of these locations have up to 64 arrivals in a given day. And you can be arriving at a time when there's 13 arrivals on average at that hour. Again, setting those expectations. If you have to be there at that time on that day, at least you know what to expect, that you're going to have to wait for customs, you're going to have to wait for the de-icing truck, you're going to have to wait for all of the different considerations to be taken in given the arrival and the departure. So that is, again, market data, not our traffic, but the traffic of the global traffic of everyone traveling. For the handler information, we offer the contact information for that handler, any kind of facilities that they might have available, the hours of those facilities, tow bar requirements, CIQ there or not, what kind of parking you have available on that for that handler. And here is yet another golden nugget. Crew and passenger logistics within the handler information. Is off-terminal clearance available? What's going to happen with the aircraft when you arrive? Is there any ramp shuttle available? Any considerations for handicaps? What to do with your passport? Do you hold on to it? Do you give it directly to the customs agent? Can you give it to the handler and the handler processes it for you? What's going to happen with the luggage? Hugely important, especially in that place where they make the millionaire take the luggage off the plane himself. Those are important things to know beforehand so people are warned and they're not surprised when they arrive. If it says landside for the meeting point for transportation, that means that the passengers have to go through the FBO and meet their transportation in front of the FBO on the street side. If it says airside, then the car can come onto the ramp next to the aircraft. And then the address given in the crew and passenger logistics page is the actual address to give to the transportation company. It could be different than the address for the FBO. It could be a gate. It could be something to take them directly to the aircraft. So we want to make sure that we had an address particularly for transportation. And then similar information for departure. We list the ground service equipment that's available there. For the country, we offer whether or not a landing permit is required, any kind of APIS requirements. For geopolitical and itinerary restrictions, the geopolitical restrictions, everybody gets along with St. Martin. Nobody has a problem there. But if there were any nationalities that had any issues, either the aircraft or the operator or the passengers or the crew members even, it would be listed here. And the itinerary, again, is where you can come, where you cannot come from, go to, or overfly when operating to this location. Moving right along, hotels. What hotels do we make available? If you want to, you know what, I skipped health requirements. If you want to know about disinfection or disinfection, that is in the health requirements overview. The spray requirements would be there at the bottom of that screen. Catering is still geared toward ACW. I was trying to say a different company altogether. It wasn't coming out. Towards ACW and transportation points towards Stravania. We always look to expand that information and we'll make it available as we have it. Security is in partnership with Crisis 24. They offer, let's go back to Sao Paulo, see if anything is happening over there. They offer anything happening in the city. It could be different in the country if anything has happened recently in the country. And local intel is fleshing all of that information out. The legal part is my favorite portion, giving you the emergency contact phone numbers, as well as an address, a phone number, and a website for all of the embassies at that location. Entry requirements is in partnership with Thematic. I didn't put nationalities, you guys. That's craziness. So it's really important to put nationalities at the beginning. And I also neglected to let you know that you could change your handler at this point or your FAR type at this point as well. But let's say that we have American crew members and a Canadian crew member as well. And that the boss, he's American, his family's American, but his son's off at college. And they know that they're going to be going down to the Met, and they're also going to take him over to the Super Bowl with them when they come back. And that college roommate happens to be Mexican. So you can use the country name, not the nationality, but the country name or the ISA code, load that there. You can load that along all of them. The roommate and the son are not going to join until that second leg, so you can add and change as the legs go along. And then going back down, so that was the importance of putting in that crew name, that nationality, because now we have the requirements for those locations split out by crew and passenger and nationality. And then the country information is the hidden gold here, because it gives you the currency, import and export limitations, and the airport tax. But the customs page shows you what you can import, what you can export, what the baggage situation is going to look like, arms and munition, if you're coming from a hunting trip, if they're going to throw you in prison for having one bullet on the aircraft. It has happened before. That information would be available here, so you can come prepared and know what to do, who to talk to, how to declare it, and have everything ready before you even go. And then Thematic does a really good job being very explicit about all of the pet information. One thing I do want to call out, because some of you might have noticed, actually, where are we? Okay. Some of you might have noticed that Thematic has actually changed their structure. So we have, they have it structured it so that you don't have to read a paragraph to pick out the parts that apply to you. They've broken it out very explicitly with headers and things like that. If you require a permit, a visa, I'm sorry. So for example, you have to have a visa to go to St. Martin. But there are exceptions that make it so that you don't particularly have to go or have to have that visa to go to that country. So those things would be listed here. You don't have to have a visa for a maximum of 90 days if you are a resident of the United States. So, so those things are listed out below and tell you whether or not you in particular need a visa. It's all listed right there beneath the requirements. We also list the NOTAMs for the airport and for the FIR. And we have hot topics, which are our regulatory insights, anything that's normative, rules, anything for the region that you need to know. And destination insights are blogs that are created to help you just know about travel season at that location or anything that we've caught wind of that we think is interesting to make known to you. So there is a lot of information that's available here. I was trying to speak slowly, but it's a lot. So it all comes rushing out. If you have any issues or if there's anything that you want to look at any more closely, we also make available the knowledge base so that you can go there and explore different things about UVGO and FIQ in particular.
Got it. All right, Monica, thank you for the overview. And we do have a couple of questions that came in earlier from the registrants. So I do want to get to those, but before we do, is there anything you want to point out, Monica, that will be coming soon in
I
Feasibility IQ that to make users aware of?
I do, I do. Here we see that health requirements and entry requirements are separated, but we are deepening our relationship with thematic for their health information. So health requirements and entry requirements will be combined in one section right here beneath security, and it'll have all of the information here. If you have any health requirements for that location, it'll be listed together with the visa information, and it'll let you know which kind of vaccinations and what you would need to be aware of going into that location. So look for those to be combined and listed beneath security together coming soon.
Got it. Okay, good deal. Thank you, Monica. All right, so let's get to those questions. Thanks in advance to everyone who did, or thank you now for everyone who sent their questions in advance. Always helps to give them to the subject matter experts early so they get a chance to answer them fully. So appreciate that. And if you are marinating on a question right now, something you want to share in the chat, please do so while we're chatting on these last few things. All right, so here's the first question. Where can I look for guidance on documents that may be looked at for a potential ramp check on a trip and gather medical and international entry requirements as well?
Okay, so the document requirements are particularly in the permit section. You know, you're going to be able to go into any permit that you've already run and look in that country and see what documents they require, particularly for those permits. If not, it's always a good idea to have the FAA requirements on hand and make sure that you have originals with you.
All right, got it. Thank you. Next question. Where do I go to see if a destination has had a GPS spoofing incident reported or get warnings about such incidents as they are happening around the globe?
Those things would probably be reported by Crisis 24, so you can look in the security section, and they would likely have that explained in their incidents.
Excellent. All right, and last question. What is the best way to research services offered for entry and exit from the Bahamas?
In the Bahamas. Okay, well, we would come into the Bahamas section and go into an airport there. Let's say that we're going to go into Luthra, enter our nationality, and any services provided at Eleuthero would be all of the information here is listed. If you have anything miscellaneous, any information that you need to know in particular, that would be listed under any miscellaneous for any section. The services that the handler offers are also listed within that section. And again, miscellaneous will include anything particular to that handler that isn't explained or offered in the sections above it. And so on and so forth for all of the destinations, all of the locations that you want to research.
Excellent. All right, so a research tip. Great. Thank you, Monica. All right, so I'm going to keep obviously Monica and then our William and Justin also joining from the product team and here on for a few minutes in case any of you have questions. As we close out, however, I do want to thank Monica in particular for preparing this very tidy update in less than 30 minutes on a few things. Thanks to Justin and William, I know, who are helping her in the background. Um, Questions about today's video link. As I mentioned, this will be available post session, and I'm just looking to see at this point. Oh, we do have a question. So cool. All right, we'll get to that in just a second. Just as a reminder, we will have a video link available of today's program. That should be out in email likely tomorrow, if not by Thursday. So look for that. All right. So Timothy, looks like we may have a question coming up here in the chat for our experts. Did you want to share that?
Sure. It looks like we do have a question from David Field. Are we able to provide a trip cost analysis before sending out a quote to a client?
Not currently through the Feasibility-IQ tool. You'd still have to send that into the team. They can gather that information together for you and send it out to you in the process that we've had to date.
Thank you. Timothy, anything else from the audience?
Nope, there is no more comments in the chat. I do want to mention I do have some links in here if you want to learn more about Feasibility IQ or sign up for the free 30-day free trial. That's no obligation, as well as a email. If you have any questions, you can reach out to our team directly.
Yes, definitely. Always know that you can reach out. That's that operational insight at univway.com. That's going to come to us for that manage the webinar, but we'll make sure to get it to the product team. So Timothy, if you can share that one as well. And definitely to how ways that we can improve these kinds of updates for you, what you'd like to see more of. I know the product team is always listening and welcoming those. So other ways and this is actually a really great segue, other ways you can connect with Monica and some of the other members of the product team, not just in these webinars, but hopefully these are helpful. We've got some live events coming up and definitely have an opportunity to see you there in person. First one coming up very quickly is NBAA's International Operators Conference coming up in Puerto Rico, February 11th through the 13th. We will be there. We're hosting our hospitality and demo suite. So, a good opportunity there. Oh, and I think Monica, Justin, we had a special offer for IOC that we wanted to mention. I almost forgot.
Okay, well, we often offer at our different shows and things that we go to a special offer at the IOC. The offer is going to be buy one, get one free. So if you buy one seat for FIQ, then you can get another one free for your office. If you have two dispatchers, you can get two for the price of one. The key, honestly, is to start looking at the tool now. If you haven't used it before, or if you have tried it, maybe it was a while back, get a trial again. It has changed a lot. We are constantly reiterating, constantly improving, adding things, making it a better user experience, more succinct, combining, structuring. So if it's been a minute, get a trial, check it out, and that way you'll be ready to pull the trigger when the show comes around, and you can take advantage of that offer.
All right, thanks. And Justin Murray will be our subject matter expert on site at IOC. All right, then next up on the live event and in-person event roster are the Orlando Regional Forum, also hosted by NBAA. That's February 26th. Please stop by, see us there, and let us know about what enhancement requests or comments you have on Feasibility IQ. And then finally, for the spring season, Schedulers and Dispatchers Conference in New Orleans. That's the end of March, and Monica herself will be there. So a great opportunity to see her in person, demo for any of your other team members, or answer your specific user questions. And as always, collecting feedback on what else you'd like to see in the tool. So again, don't forget you can connect with us at that operational insight at univway.com email. Ideas and suggestions, always very welcome. And I'll do one more check-in. Timothy and team, any other live questions that we should bring to the group?
We are good.
Excellent. All right. Well, I cannot thank you all enough for taking time out of your day to join us and appreciate Monica, Justin, and William's time for helping us prepare to bring this summary to you. Look forward to seeing you at the next Feasibility IQ webinar, but also our regular Ops Update series. Our next one should probably be around April for the Ops Updates. And in between, I'll also be at several of those live events in person, so look forward to seeing you there as well. All right. Take care, everyone. Thanks so much, and see you soon.
Thanks, everyone.